Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome to another session of the 18th Annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment virtual conference. I'm Bob Hales. I'm your moderator. Don't forget, this year we're sponsored by the Journal of Educators Online, JEO. They have a veritable cornucopia of refereed articles that would be of interest, I think, to any of us here. Just go to thejeo.com and you can look at articles from 2004 and forward. So we have with us Monica Reddy Regula. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Very good. She serves as an instructional technology designer at Lemoyne College in New York. Got a doctorate in curriculum instruction and media technology from Indiana State. Got substantial expertise in instructional design and instructional technology, particularly in the areas of online teaching and the strategic integration of technology tools in teaching and course design. So we're fortunate to have Monica with us, who's going to talk about Chat GTP and other Gen AI tools to improve digital accessibilities. Monica, it's all yours. Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Thank you for that introduction. Hello, everybody. As you can see, or you're probably hearing that generative AI these days is everywhere. So, like it or not, or whether we want to use it or not, it's here to stay. So, I thought, why not try to use it for digital accessibility compliance? And as you all know, on the digital accessibility side of the things, we have a deadline coming up, a federal deadline, the Title II deadline that's in April for public institutions and May for um, any private institutions also with HHS funds, Department of Health and Human Services funds are, being received by that college or university. So we lie in the second part of that compliance deadline, which is May of 2026. So, but this experiment I did with using ChatGPT, was because we had a blind student who was enrolled in a creative writing course without realizing that creative writing course was a poetry course. So the instructor had selected two books. I'm giving you brief history before we jump into the demonstration and how I used it, what kinds of needs that there were for why I thought maybe I could use generative AI for that. So this student, without realizing that it's a poetry course, enrolled in that course, and the faculty member had two textbooks for the course. And one of them, we were able to find it easily, um, a not accessible version through our digital support services office. However, the other one, we could not. Um, so the second book that we could not find online, so after contacting the publisher for almost every week, 2 weeks before the semester started. We could not get any response from them. So in the meantime, we were scanning the textbook pages and giving that to student. And once the textbook publisher responded to us, they gave us a Word document of all the poems. But when a screen reader, the student was using JAWS from Freedom Scientific, it was not doing a good job at reading poems because poems consist of this um, that style that it has to follow, the cadence that it has to read, which a screen reader doesn't care if it's a poem or a math statement. It just reads words that it can find, right? So because of that, we ran into the student reported back saying, I am not able to get the poem feeling when my screen reader reads the content. So we were brainstorming as to how or what we can do. So that's where this idea of using generative AI happened. This was in late 2024, so not this past fall, but the previous fall. ChatGPT just released its read aloud function, and so we thought, why not test it? So with that history in mind, so let's go ahead and get into the details of this. So as you can see, I do have a small info about you slide here. So if you could go ahead and either scan if you have a mobile device that allows for scanning, QR code scanning. If not, you can open your browser, enter menti.com, enter the code 65800504 so that you can I know a little bit about you, so that I can customize or talk more directly or a little bit more in depth about the content that I'm about to share. So I'm going to give about maybe 20, 30 seconds before we move on. So basically, there are a few questions to know about how far along are you in your digital accessibility journey. Um, that's what this scan or QR code information is about. So if you need a little bit more time, I see that four of you joined. I'm gonna give a couple more seconds. If the QR code for some reason is not working, feel free to use the comments as well. Thank you for joining. All right. If you need, I'm gonna move on for a second, or from now, but if you would like to access the QR code at any point, please let me know in the chat and I'll keep an eye on it. And we'll go from there. So, thank you for joining again. So, here is your first question. What is your level of experience in improving digital accessibility in your day-to-day role? Um, I would like to know this because as you know, as an instructional designer at heart, we would always like to know, you know, who are our audiences, who are our learners. This is my attempt at knowing, analyzing my learners so that I can modify my talk so that it's more geared towards your level of expertise. So I received four responses, mostly have some knowledge and experience, but I want to deepen my understanding. Awesome, thank you. So proficient. Oh, that's awesome. So for because looks like we have a mix of people here, that which is great, because few slides down the presentation, we will have an opportunity to collaborate. You all will have an opportunity to collaborate on a Miro board where you can share your some of your experiences, some of your solutions, some of your issues you're still struggling with. Maybe as a group, we can discuss a little bit more about what we are all struggling with, because at this point we are all in this together in a way. Um, all right, so if I see that most of you all, some of you are experts, some intermediate, but I thought I'd say a quick word about digital accessibility. Uh, Whenever we try to offer any workshop, sometimes access and availability gets confused. So whenever I talk about digital accessibility, I make it a point to talk about that sometimes making sure that just because you're publishing your course, publishing your content doesn't mean that is accessible. Accessible is meaning providing equal access to everybody, regardless of their um, abilities. So that's what we will focus on about digital accessibility, as you all know. And then again, another question for you. So, if again on your Menti, if the question next is, what is your level of experience in improving digital accessibility using generative AI tools that we have so many now? So awesome. So we have mostly beginner. We're waiting for two more responses. Intermediate. Um, so that's good. I will talk about the couple of experiences that I have used. And again, I am so glad to see that we have advanced using users as well. So let's see. Let's go ahead and see what my our story and need was. Like at the beginning, I said we had a blind student who enrolled in a creative writing course without realizing that it was um, a poetry course. So we had two situations, right? First, we were scanning the poems, and those poems, all at the end of 5 lines, there would be a number. That was one of the hard things for us to figure out. Like, yes, we could do reading order setting on Adobe Pro whenever we were using Adobe Pro to remediate this content. Um, but we still could not figure out. I was not a subject matter expert in terms of that poetry, and so I was having a hard time figuring that out. Like, is that number necessary, or can we not focus too much on that number? So that was one question. The second question was, like I said, the student was not having a meaningful learning experience because poems are read differently, whereas her screen reader was not doing the job. So that is when we thought, uh, why not use generative AI to see if we can use the read a lot feature that was recently introduced, or almost 2 years ago at this point, well, 1.5 years ago at this point in ChatGPT. So, this was the need, like converting the PDFs into more accessible versions, which we already had a system going for that, but we wanted to try the generative AI to help us save some time because, if you all know, if you have tried remediation on Adobe Pro or Adobe, it would take a lot of time, depending on the size, depending on the length, depending on the type of content we are dealing with. Um, so the first one, because again, like it was a PDF, it was that was one challenge we encountered. And when we uploaded it to ChatGPT, it would just take all the words and would just put it as a text on the prompt area. Um, and another one was, like I said, we were having a hard time getting hold of the publisher for accessible text. So we ended up scanning the textbook page and trying to remediate that one. So again, that again is another level of complexity. And the next thing we tried was text voice with effects, which is what I'm going to demonstrate here in a second. But for that, I used ChatGPT read aloud feature. So these were the attempts and a brief history as to how we ended up doing that. All right, let's take a look. So here is my, for time saving purposes, um, I'm going to pull up the draft, chat prompts that I used when I was trying to do it. As you can see, I had my prompts here. Again, this was pretty new, so my prompt skills were not so great at that point. But I first started with a simple question, and then I was kind of back and forth with ChatGPT, and then I uploaded the PDF that we were able to get from the textbook because at that point we were still waiting for the publisher to get back to us. So we were still relying on scanning the textbook page and trying to remediate it, then convert it into a readable poem. So Once I uploaded it, it was able to grab the text as you can see. So this accomplished the first part, the second part of our attempts in the previous slide you have seen, which was scanned PDFs and remediating those. So once I uploaded the scanned PDF, it was able to grab the text for me. So that was all good. And then I asked it to read like a poem. I don't, so like I said, it was used, read aloud feature in ChatGPT was released like few days before that. Um, so if you want to listen to it, it will do a decent job, but it will just read like any screen reader would. So then I asked it, like, okay, can you read it like a poem? So if you notice, if at the beginning, if I ask it to read like a poem, it would directly say, no, I can't read poems for you, but here are my suggestions. So you kind of have to prompt it, kind of like prompt it in a different way so that it starts to identify that this is what you want to try. Um, let me see if I am sharing my audio through this. So let me stop sharing and start again, just to make sure that I'm broadcasting the audio as well. Um, Share sound. Okay, got it. So now it should, hold on. Share sound, share screen. There we go. Here is my ChatGPT screen. I'm sharing my sound. So as you can see, if I go from here,
Here's a reading of one of the poems from your PDF titled Folding His USA Today He Makes His Point in the Blue Star Cafe by Gary Snyder. There's this bird I saw in the paper, they said was a long time on that endangered list.
see, as you can see, it's just reading at this point, right? So as I scroll down a little bit, now I'm gonna make this.
Here's a rhythmic reading of the poem, Folding His USA Today He Makes His Point in the Blue Star Cafe by Gary Snyder, with pauses and flow typical of poetry. There's this bird I saw in the paper, they said was a long time on that endangered list, but isn't now, because they're all dead. It didn't have a place to.
See, as you can see, as I started asking more out of it, so the voice started changing. Again, just as a note, ChatGPT released 10 voices, five male, five female, with different slangs and with different accents. Not accents like completely different, but with a high pitch, low pitch, that kind of a modulation in voice. One sounded sassy, one sounded professional. So that kind of variations in tone. So, and then I asked it some more, like include the page numbers in it, which at this point I didn't like that because it was saying one, there is this bird I saw in the poem, they said two, and that was not what I was hoping for here. So then I told it, okay, add a pause at the end of every sentence. And now here is what it looks like or sounds like.
Here's a reading of Folding His USA Today He Makes His Point in the Blue Star Cafe by Gary Snyder, with pauses at the end of each line. There's this bird I saw in the paper, they said, was a long time on that endangered list, but isn't now, because they're all dead. It didn't have a place to put its nest. So what we're out a bird.
All right. So again, I started giving it more and more instructions. Like I said, at that time, I was not an expert at prompting yet. So I played with it a little bit. And then once I felt like I received a decent poem-like experience, that's when again, like this, after a little bit of
Absolutely.
more.
Here's a poetic reading of Folding His USA Today He Makes His Point in the Blue Star Cafe by Gary Snyder, delivered with a natural rhythm and a pause at the end of each line to let each image land with weight. There's this bird I saw in the paper, they said, was a long time on that endangered list, but isn't now because they're all dead. It didn't have a place to put its nest.
All right. So at this point, once it started to sound a little bit more like a poem reading instead of just screen reading, I used the other tools in our portfolio. I used Kaltura for that. So I used Kaltura audio recording to record that and make it available to our student. So that's how we converted this a poem reading into some, not just a screen reading, but actually with some kind of modulations to the voice and tone so that it sounds like a poem and not just like bunch of words. So at this point, I was, I was just playing with it. Like, can you make it into an audio directly? It gave me some suggestions, but that's not what I wanted. What I wanted was already there. So while reading it aloud, I screen recorded it and used it for our student. So that was one area how I used ChatGPT in a way, um, going over just scanning, remediating scan documents and remediating PDF content. But let me just tell you that, once you upload your content onto ChatGPT, you have no control over it. So be okay, make sure that your content is you're okay with having your content out there. I asked permission from the faculty member, and I only used one poem out of that chapter after asking the permission from the faculty member. So that was one example. Number two, I want to talk about digital accessibility remediation with ChatGPT is it basically takes all the words and puts it on the screen for you. Other than that, it won't actually remediate. This was back then. So now we have advanced tools that we use AI for. We recently launched or purchased licensed add-on features for our current accessibility checker. That is a whole different level of using AI for digital accessibility remediation. But uploading a document and having AI fix it is a little bit more like basically what OCR is about. Like it scans the words and puts it on there, but doesn't do much in terms of uh, remediating the original document, at least in my experience at that point. So another feature that we are gonna talk about here is the limitations, and then we will focus about the Miro board where we can collaborate. Is because I did not pay for ChatGPT. We are a Google school at Lemoyne, so we have Gemini. So we don't have ChatGPT. We didn't pay for ChatGPT. So with that free version, I could only upload 2 files. So after the same day, I was trying to upload 2 more, and then it was like, no, you have to wait for 1 day to get any further poetry to be read to you. And then if the document itself is non-OCR, it does not recognize it. Just like this is an example. This is something I like to tell my faculty whenever I talk to them about what is a non-OCR document. So when they scan the textbook page, it's an image put into PDF. So I tell them figuratively think of that document as a document with a lock on top of it. So that lock is a non-ACR OCR. And then if we want to open that lock, we have to convert that into a OCR document. So once we open that lock, then we will be able to see the text in it, recognize the text in it, and then do something with the text. So that's my way of explaining OCR versus non-OCR document to our faculty. And then once we go about it, again, as you heard, it's not going to sound like 100% human reading. It's going to sound like a machine, but we are asking it, we are modifying it a little bit. And the other limitation here is that if we have any kind of STEM related content and special characters, ChatGPT does not recognize those. I tried a chemistry scanned page. It was not fun. I could barely understand what it was trying to read. So these are the limitations that I found at that point. And whenever I sometimes play with it for a little bit to just see where it has gotten at this point after, a couple of months of development at this point. And still, I don't feel like either I don't know how else to use it or I don't give enough time um, to upload many of my content once again because um, this is a large language model, so we don't know where the content is going. So I try to keep it to limited use. And because we are a Google school, we have Gemini, which is the Google's version of AI. And if I want to do any kind of experiment with the content of our faculty members, I use Gemini a little bit, but not because within our contract it is written that the content we upload to Gemini will not be used to train the models. So for that reason, I use Gemini on a little bit, especially when the faculty member is okay to just get the content out of the scanned PDF, but not to remediate the original PDF. So that's my use of generative AI so far for remediating any content or documents for digital accessibility purposes. So after sharing my experience and my limitations that I found, now let's share. I'll invite you to share your experiences with the digital accessibility and how you have used digital accessibility or generative AI for digital accessibility purposes. So if you could scan this QR code and then enter the board. If you for some reason cannot access this QR code, this link will also work. I can share that with you if you need to in the chat here. Um, this might be not. This might not work. Okay. Let me share it with you here. So this is the Miro board that we will be using. There we go. Please use this link to enter the board. And you can, let's first talk about, if you want to focus in one area, I'm going to explain how this Miro board is set up. So I made sure these colored sticky note stacks are available for you, and each of them are color coded. If you want to first talk about current digital accessibility issues you're facing, go ahead and grab one, or you can start entering it here because we have 3 empty ones here. Once we run out of these 3, if you want to grab more, you can always grab more. And then issues, and then some of the solutions that you have worked with and then found out that you were successful with that one, and any of the digital accessibility resources that you want to use, and the generative AI tools that I have used this Miro board a few times before. So these are some of the resources that my participants shared with me. That's why, I thought I would share it in case you have not used any of these resources before. You can have access to those as well. So if you want to make these a little bigger, you can always use these. And then if you want to grab or move the screen around, I always like to use this. There's always a way to use your mouse pad on your laptop if you're using a laptop. But if you want to move the screen around, disable this arrow so that you can pinch and zoom here. So here are some of the resources that users, previous participants have shared with me. So if you want to grab a screenshot of it, go ahead and do that. And one other thing here is, yeah, if you have any other digital accessibility resources that are non-generative AI related, so please go ahead and add here as well. So I'm gonna give a few minutes. Is anybody having issues with this Miro board? I'm watching the scan here a bit. some of the issues the previous users mentioned for this activity were like um, issues with screen reader problems for their documents, and then ESL students not whose English is not a strong point. If you have never used Miro before, just double click on these sticky notes and you can start typing them. And I can enter one of the issues that we recently faced. So, along with the poetry reading, sometimes we enter into issues which actually happened like yesterday, this time yesterday, where uh, our digital accessibility support person came in and like this student cannot process the content on an online screen, like, online quiz properly. Is there a way to print your Canvas quiz? We use Canvas as our LMS. So printing Canvas quizzes is one of our issues that we recently found out, recently, as recent as yesterday. Um, um, what happens is when we try to print the Canvas quiz, it doesn't look great. Like no matter how much I'm zooming in, when I hit print, it will be the regular sized quiz. And if the student needs it in enlarged size, then we have to find other alternatives like contacting the faculty members, finding out if they have a original Word document, and then trying to uh, print that for students. So that's as recent of a problem that we found for digital accessibility purposes, how hard it is for students if they need a printed quiz. I don't know what LMSs you all use. Uh, so that's, I worked with Blackboard Moodle before. I don't remember ever needing to print quizzes, but this one is a new one for me. So if you have any questions or if you have any solutions to that, please either respond in the chat or unmute yourself and mention that. Another issue that we have is music documents, how to remediate them for screen reader purposes. Um, Music notes. Thank you. Um, any other ideas, issues that you want to enter? We could, or if you have any solutions to any of the problems that we have listed here, share it on the Miro board, chat, or unmute yourself, and please feel free to share with us. Share with me. um, let me give one more minute before I move on with the rest of my talk. This is the last activity, so I just have a conclusion. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I have a hard time finding resources for STEM faculty members, especially chemistry faculty members so far, because they use LaTeX to develop their notes, and that has been a challenge so far. So If you have any ideas on LaTeX accessibility, please feel free to add here. Thank you for sharing that. So let me go back to my slide here. So as you can see, I just included that Miro board here. Um, so still, and I also included in case the Miro board did not work, but I don't think we are gonna have to use this. So I'm gonna move on here. Again, thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for joining me today in going over some of the areas where how or I thought I could use digital accessibility, um, generative AI for digital accessibility purposes. So let me go back to Miro to see if there are any more contributions over there. So I'm going to stop my screen here. That was the end of my presentation, formerly the one that I created. But since some of you have already entered that you have used generative AI tools for digital accessibility, I'd like to open the floor, if you will, to see how and what tools you have used to make documents accessible or remediate your content and anything in between. So please, if you could either enter in the chat or unmute and share with us, that will be super awesome. Nice. Yeah. Um, for some of the things that I do, Copilot is what I like better than ChatGPT. Um, but unfortunately, we don't have license for Copilot. So whatever I try, it's based on free educator access that we get. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Using ChatGPT to create alt text or long descriptions for images. Have any of you tried the generate alt text for me in Word? Have you had any luck? Yeah, I agree. Um, Sometimes it does, sometimes it says cannot generate for you for this image. So something like that. Yeah. Any other tools that you have used? Yeah, I agree. Let's wait for 3 more minutes to see if any of you have any more contributions. Okay. Quick question for all of you again. So, do any of you use digital accessibility checkers in your LMS or your websites? If so, what is that, and do they have any AI component? Hmm. Okay. We when we were considering replacing so at first we had Blackboard Ally for our accessibility checking in our Canvas environment. It was doing a good job of pointing out all the issues, but in terms of remediation, it was not any helpful. So it was still time taking. So 2.5 years into Ally, we thought, okay, let's do a market research and then see if there is any other product that does remediation along with giving us a report of all the accessibility issues. So we tried You Do It by CD Labs. Has great features, but some of the features that we were looking for did not were not there at that point. This was last year, mid last year, looks like. Um, yeah, hmm exactly. So now we licensed Yuja Panorama if you have not used it before. So Yuja is the company, but Panorama is the accessibility tool that has inbuilt remediation techniques built into the program. I mean, it's machine remediation, so we sometimes still have to keep an eye on it. But surprisingly, so far we have had good results with it. And we recently got the AI version of it, which is called Autopilot. So when we click on that little button, it kind of does remediate pretty quickly. Again, it's AI, so we still have to keep a closer eye on what it's doing. And the one thing we have found out is that it's credit based. So if we click that button once, we are using 1 credit. They say it doesn't matter how long the document is, they're gonna charge 1 credit per document. So that's something that we added on literally 2 weeks ago. So it's still brand new for us. So we are experimenting that AI version of Panorama for remediating our content. So thank you for sharing, Nikki. Yeah, please do. It's called Panorama. I can actually. um, So if you'd like a quick demo of it, here is the video. If you scroll down to the center of the page, you will see how autopilot is done. It's pretty neat, actually. All right. So if you have no questions for me or no comments, no further comments, then I'll hand it back to Bob.
Well, thank you. Think we've got some good resources.
Mhm,
I appreciate you
mhm,
taking the time to share with us. And as you can see, I think people really appreciated this session.
mhm, mhm. Thank you.
So